Now, we begin our coverage tonight with some sad news coming from Egerton University, where a fourth-year student at the Njoro campus died after her lover slit her throat. Now, the man accused of killing her is said to be a subordinate staff in the same university. He was lynched moments later, allegedly by angry students. The couple leaves behind a 3-month-old baby. The two were reportedly living in a rental apartment outside the campus.
Shocked neighbors at a rental block in Jokerio slum in Njoro town peep inside the house that has now turned into a protected crime scene. The evidence of a struggle clear in the manner in which the house was unkempt. It's the aftermath of an argument that has ended in the death of Sharon Bone, a fourth-year education student at the Egerton University. The young lady apparently had her throat slit open by her lover, 25-year-old Hilary Nandasaba, after an 8 p.m. tussle in their one-room house late Friday evening.
Mimi kama jirani nikakimbia huko kwenda kuokoa mtoto juu kijana alikuwa ameakisha moto kwa nyumba. Ndio mimi kuenda huko nikaambia wanifungulie, wakakataa. Nikaambia mama ya msichana anataka kuongea na msichana, kijana akanikataza. Akaniambia hakuna mahali huyu msichana haongeleshi wazazi wake leo.
But the man would not leave the scene scot-free after cries from the student attracted neighbors who lynched him just a few minutes after the body of his lifeless spouse was discovered. The reason behind the fight remains unknown, as the deceased couple now leaves behind a 3-month-old infant, a baby who witnessed the death of his mother at the hands of his father.
Ni uchungu, nahisi uchungu sana kupoteza kazini yangu. She was like a sister to me. We used to play together.
The bodies of the two have been taken to the Egerton University morgue as the infant is left in the care of its grandparents. Timothy Otieno, KTN News.
To more sad news now, a love triangle led to the death of a middle-aged man in Mombasa who bled to death after his wife chopped off his private parts in a bizarre early morning incident. Now, the deceased, a banker in Mombasa, succumbed to the injuries moments after reaching a local dispensary. The tragedy left residents of Bamburi Estate in devastation. KTN's Francis Ontoma with the details.
Things fell apart here at the Bamburi Estate when the woman, only identified as Pauline, got wind that her husband Alois Matata was allegedly on a philandering mission. What will stir up affairs, leaving him a corpse.
Jamaa mwenyewe ametolewa na bibi yake asubuhi. Wakaenda wakigombana kwa nyumba. Kufika kwa nyumba ndo walitoka. Jamaa akabebwa kama amedungwa kisu. Alimdunga kisu sehemu za siri, kando na sehemu za siri.
The revelations will charge her up to an extent of running amok. She fished him out at around 9 a.m. from this local pub, from marching him into their house, and after heated exchanges, the unthinkable will occur. Neighbors were confronted by the wailing husband, who was found stabbed on the thigh with his privates hanging loosely. This for Pauline was the perfect payback for straying.
Siku 3 wajalala kwa nyumba. Ndio sasa ile shida kutoka kwa baba mpaka kwa nyumba wameenda wakigombana. Kutoka jamaa ndo anatoka kama ana bleed. Kimbizwa hospitali dakika kama kadhaa akaaga.
The man said to be a banker in Mombasa bled profusely, succumbing upon admission to the Yeshua Medical Center, Kisauni. Neighbors said this is not the first time the couple was in a serious domestic conflict. However, this time things seem to have gotten out of hand after the man allegedly spent 3 straight days away from their matrimonial bed. And this is the woman said to have been hanging out with the late Matata.
So when I came in the morning, I met some friends there and we had some time together. And I immediately met this guy. He was there. I didn't know he was married or anything.
And after committing the crime, Pauline, said to be 5 months pregnant, escaped. Kisauni OCPD Fred Ngatia now says law enforcers have begun investigations to establish her whereabouts. The woman caught in the love triangle curiously had some counsel to those in marriage.
Kama unafikiria bwana yako yuadanganya, ama kama unafeel kuwa hawezi kuwa kwa hiyo relationship for that time, it's better to let it go as early as possible than ku escalate mpaka mambo kama hiyo.
It's not the first time events of this nature are being reported in Kenya. Francis Ontomwa, KTN News, Mombasa.
Now, what has the one-time Cabinet Secretary for Interior, Joseph Olelenku, been up to? Well, James Smart caught up with him for a one-on-one interview about his past and future. Take a look.
Let's talk about since your time and where you've been, and the impression that I have coming to you right now is of someone who rose into a cabinet position without having the proper credentials and the portfolio to match it. Why were you nominated and elected to be selected, if I may say, to be the Cabinet Secretary for Interior?
It's a very different thing from the real situation. James, this is a very well-educated Kenyan, by the way, with a master's degree from the University of Nairobi, a BCom from the same university, now a PhD student. On the education front, you can take it to the bank. When people say inexperienced, man, this is a man who has served at the top of private sector, blue chip company listed at the Nairobi Stock Exchange in top management for almost 8 years. In a public institution, the best hotel school in the country, Kenya Utalii College, at top management for another 8 years. That brings both public sector and private sector experience to the table. Olelenku was not picked from some nowhere. Early 2013, in the heat of election campaign, the Public Service Commission advertised for position of principal secretaries. And people who were shortlisted for the interviews were put in the major dailies, the big newspapers. Of course, if you go back to that, you'll find the name Olelenku in the newspapers. I came later on to learn that I was shortlisted as the top candidate for the job in Kajiado County.
How did you learn that you were being shortlisted to be the Cabinet Secretary there?
I would imagine that when the president was checking the list of what is available in the country and was also looking for cabinet secretaries, which was not advertised, I believe that is where he picked my name. And I was actually called for an interview for cabinet secretary. I was interviewed by the president himself. And so I went actually through the proper process, including vetting by the National Assembly, interview by the president, picked by Public Service Commission for a principal secretary job. After many Kenyans were interviewed, I came top in Kajiado County. So to insinuate that there was some favoritism or there was something wrong was a creation of the media. Ilikuwa kazi yenu.
He is someone who has never worked in Interior Ministry per se. How do you look at your time?
I think what the president and the deputy were looking at the time, they were looking for young Kenyans, experienced, untainted, who has done very well in their careers they came from. That was really more of a management position rather than a security job. It had to do with policy, formulation, guidance, and directing the ministry. And that is exactly what I did. And I can tell Kenyans, without blinking an eye, we did very, very well. I'm very proud that part of the policy initiative that I had a strong input in them is what is keeping our country safe. We are very proud to see our country getting, security situation getting better over time. When the history of this country is written, one man, Joseph Olelenku, had laid down security systems that would outlive my life.
The impression that I have now, if someone who's very well grounded, educated, has the qualities and qualification working in senior management position, not only in government, but blue chip company. But many Kenyans, if you ask them today, they say the cook, Olelenku, who rose from being a cook to straight into the cabinet. How do you feel about that?
That is what I'm saying. With regard to dealing with the media and all this, we did badly. But with regard to policy, the work that you had to do, I did very, very well. Now, when I tell you that I hold a master's degree from the University of Nairobi, I ran a blue chip company in the Nairobi Stock Exchange. I revived Kenya Utalii College, which at some point was really doing very badly. It's the only now government institution that is competing with a private sector on that particular sector. When I say I did that, and the records are there for you to see, whether my qualification or experience, then you come and say a cook. Or do I tell you? Do I say you guys are malicious? Or do I say somebody was looking for this job?
If you look back to your time as the ministry, what would you say is something that really you think you look back and say, well, we failed in this, we didn't do this correctly?
We won't say that really we failed per se, but I would say that one of the darkest moments of this country was our Westgate tragedy during my time. The Westgate tragedy was a shock to the country, actually a shock to the security system. It is something that has not happened before, but I will say that behind the scene, we had the best brains with regard to security handling the matters. This man, Lenku, was conveying the information. You people were not patient to wait for us to tell you what is happening.
There's one statement that has never been confirmed or defeated today.
The smoke you are seeing from the building is as a result of the terrorists setting some mattress on fire to distract our action. I am aware that indications are that the building have been blown off, but nothing could be further from the truth.
We stand with that, that we stand with it.
You stand with it?
Yes.
To date?
To date.
You go to your grave with it?
We stand with that.
If you were to go back to your time as the cabinet secretary, what's that one thing that you'll do differently?
Probably learn more to handle the media. Handling the media was a big issue because I said earlier, with regard to policy formulation, with regard to policy execution, with regard to the work, you can't pinpoint and say this was done badly.